Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Now today is going to be the video that people have been asking me about so much to do, and I finally now can do it. But before I get into this video, if you are new around here, my name is Amy, my channel is bellabambinaxx. If you are new here, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'd really appreciate if you subscribe. I do a lot of fitness content, I do a lot of lifestyle, hauls, fashion, vlogs. It's all good fun stuff here, but today we are talking about my shred and how I shred. Now, just as a disclaimer in this video, you will have a lot of people telling you how to do fitness, how to do eating, how to do nutrition, and it is completely personalized, and that is exactly what I'm sharing with you today. I have not followed somebody's shred, I have not followed someone's diet, I have not followed anything that anyone has told me to. I have educated myself in different forms of dieting, nutrition, how the body works, and applied some common sense, quite frankly, and just put together elements that I know I can achieve and what I can do and how much I'm willing to sacrifice for the weight loss that I wanted. So of course, feel free in the comments to share your experience and your opinion, I guess, if you want, because that's what everybody's here for. But also just bear in mind that I'm not telling you this is the way it will work for you. You may lose a lot more than I did doing this. You may not lose nearly as much as I did doing this if you wish to follow what I have done. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. So I want to start off with what is a shred. Now the word shred is what you make of it, quite honestly. It did come from sort of bodybuilders. Usually bodybuilders would shred to get their body fat percentage down and then bulk to get their muscle mass up. But it can be applied to anybody's diet or plan. So this is what I decided to do. Actually defined though, a shred is a low GI diet along with meal spacing and meal replacements. That's essentially what makes a shred a shred. So when I say a low GI diet, low GI means low glycemic indexed food. Now I'm going to try and keep this video very layman's terms as I can, because I know that when I've seen some of these videos, people are like chucking words at me. You're like, oh my god, that sounds so scientific, I don't know what that is. You don't need to make it scientific. It is a basic maths. So the reason I have done a shred is to kickstart my weight loss. This is mainly what they're used for. A shred is not, and I cannot highlight this enough, a shred is not a permanent way of life. A shred is a diet, is a capped period of time that you do this routine in order to kickstart weight loss or fat loss. Also bear in mind that shreds are very intense, so they aren't for everybody. Bottom line, if you want to lose weight quickly, which is not recommended because you should healthily, steadily lose weight to keep that consistency going, but if you have got an occasion, or some people use it for shows or holidays, then a shred is good. But bear in mind that not a lot of people can do it because it does take a lot of discipline. It will prompt a lot of cravings. I'll tell you what, now I have not got the biggest sweet tooth, but when I've done my 4-week shred, I craved all sort of sweet things that I would never usually want or eat. Like, it's the weirdest thing with the cravings. You will have a lot of cravings for sweet things. You will have a lot of mood swings as well. I get very hangry in general. So when you're on a shred where you are limiting calories massively, just be prepared that you are not going to feel great in yourself. But it does pay off. Another really important thing to note with shreds, and my shred specifically, is that it's not just about food. It's not just cutting calories and that's it. Your exercise must be at a fair or a high intensity and high amount, otherwise it's not going to work. They are as important as each other. Food and diet in general, food and exercise in general should always go hand in hand. You should never cut loads of calories and not exercise, or do loads of exercise and eat loads of calories. They counterbalance each other, so the only way you're ever going to get results in general for weight loss is to make sure the two are equal and you're putting in as much effort into each. So what did I specifically do? So my shred I set out for a 4-week period. I felt this was long enough, but yet also short enough and achievable enough. Within those 4 weeks, the rules I had to stick to were specifically between 1,000 and 1,200 calories day allowance. This shouldn't matter whether I was exercising or not. So whether I did a 1,000 calorie workout where I actually obviously gained that amount that I could probably eat, it didn't change. So whether I had my rest day or my workout day, it was 1,000 to 1,200 calories max. Probably the key thing that defines a shred differently is that you have very low carbohydrate. If you are a diet person, and you may have heard of the keto diet, this shred is essentially a similar version, but it's not as macro and micronutrient focused. You can have as much as you want essentially. The only rule that I stuck by for my shred was that I wanted to keep my carbohydrates below 100 grams a day. I couldn't have any more than 100 grams. So the best way to do that and keep it under 100 grams, which really is not a lot, is basically avoiding all the complex carbs. That's pasta, rice, bread, potatoes, sweet potatoes, you know, lots of different vegetables have high carbohydrate, and a lot of obviously processed foods have high carbohydrate. So really you can't actually have potatoes, rice, or any of those on your shred, because you'd have one very small portion and that's your whole daily allowance. But you need that allowance to spread over your breakfast, lunch and dinner, because carbs are pretty much in everything. So although I was having lots of vegetables, I had to learn which ones were the low carb vegetables. I love my tea and coffee, and milk unfortunately has carbohydrates and fats. That's basically half and half of what it's made up from. So I knew that a lot of my allowance was going to come from my carbs was going to come from my milk. So the reason we can't have the complex carbs, this is probably the most important thing you need to understand, otherwise it'll just be completely mindless of why you're cutting out some of these amazing foods. You're thinking, what is the point? Why do I need to cut carbohydrate? The reason being, they all have what we call a high GI or glycemic index. A glycemic index, when it is high, means that when we eat and digest it, our blood sugar levels rise. Carbohydrates do this a lot faster. Anything we eat will make our blood sugar go up slightly, but when we eat complex carbs like those, it spikes. Now, when your blood sugar spikes, it produces insulin, and when we have our insulin stores high in our body, we essentially cannot burn any stored fat. So this is why the absolute goal with the shred is to cut your carbs in order to keep your insulin levels low. If your insulin levels are low, it's where your metabolic state can shift and you can actually burn stored fat rather than consumed calories. Another really important thing to note, this isn't exactly about fat loss but also in general and weight loss with the shred, is that carbohydrate, for every 1 gram of carbohydrate you eat, you will retain 3 to 4 grams of water. AKA, the more carbohydrates, the more weight and substance will be in your body. And of course you must always drink enough water, and in a shred my goal was always 2 litres a day. If you watched my how I stay motivated and what's in my gym bag, you will see my massive 2-litre bottle of water. This is so essential. You must always keep drinking on a shred, especially since you don't have those carbohydrates to maintain your water. You will need the water to constantly sort of be flowing. But yeah, I found it worked really, really well on cutting the carbs. I am Italian, so I love my bread, my pasta, my rice, my potatoes. It is in my blood. I absolutely love my carbohydrates, and I'm so excited now that I'm off my shred that I can slowly wean them back in. Again, that's a separate video if you want me to do of how I'm actually transitioning off my shred, because don't think you can do 4 weeks of eating no carbs and all of a sudden go have a massive bowl of pasta, because that is really not the healthiest or right way to do it, and you'll find that you'll put quite a lot of weight back on, but that's a whole other story. So if you do find this video interesting, let me know if that's something else you'd like to see. I can do a quick video of how to come off of a shred. But because I am such a rice, pasta, carb orientated person, I did find this shred hard, but because I knew what the result was gonna be, I knew that it was absolutely worth it. The other thing that completely got me through this shred, if you've been following me on Instagram, you would see that I have carb-free noodles, carb-free rice, low-carb bread. All these things actually exist, and I will be doing a video very, very soon about my top favourite food hacks for, just in general, not on a shred, but if you're just looking to lose weight, my top favourite food hacks that can save you so many calories and so many carbs. So please make sure you are subscribed, because there is some amazing products that I never knew existed in here that will be in that video. So a really important thing to know with the carbohydrates is also knowing that you should be eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of protein. Basically all my lunches were made up of a nice chunk of meat and a nice bit of veg. Just make sure you're learning what veg is actually lower carbohydrate and higher carbohydrate. I was eating a lot of courgettes, a lot of eggplant, a lot of asparagus, a lot of tender stem broccoli, and a lot of cauliflower. Cauliflower was like my best friend on the shred because it's so plain, so you can really like cook crazy things with it and flavour it awesomely. I think I made soup with cauliflower, I made buffalo bites with cauliflower. I made, I don't even know, cauliflower cheese mash. That was one of my favourite things that got me through it. But yeah, there's loads of them. If you want to see any of the recipes, it's on my Instagram page. I have a whole healthy meals tab there. Go check them out if you need some inspiration. Something that is very sort of hard, I guess it wasn't in January, but it is if you're going to decide to be watching this video and going to be doing it in summer, shred, is that an alcohol is no-no. Unfortunately, you just cannot drink alcohol when you're doing a shred. Alcohol is not carbohydrate as much as that's commonly believed. Alcohol is its own entity, so you've got proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and then alcohol. But alcohol has 9 calories per gram. It is very high. It has no nutritional value whatsoever. And unfortunately, calories, like I said, are high. So unfortunately, alcohol is not the best thing you can be having on the shred. I did have some, so I was measuring out vodka and only having so many units of vodka on a night, and also having skinny beer, as this is only 89 calories per bottle and it's gluten-free, so you don't bloat. Again, I'll mention more about skinny beer and the brands that I use for low-calorie things in my upcoming video for food hacks. Super important in the diet part of this, you must have a lot of protein. You must eat a lot of protein in order to maintain your metabolism, because if you cut your calories too much and you're just eating, you know, light carbohydrate or 100 carbohydrates a day, 100 grams of carbohydrates a day, you must make sure you have your protein. Otherwise, your body will start eating at your muscles in order to get energy, which is really not what you want, because we want to lean down, but we do not want to make ourselves weak, because you just don't feel good, and there is no benefit to this whatsoever when you can just make sure your protein is high. The best way also I found with this is just getting creative with my foods. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I did so many different types of recipes and different you know, desserts and things. Just, you have to kind of have a little passion to learn in the kitchen and get creative with food. So just the final bit of this video on how I shred also is also about how you are recording and monitoring your progress. Now, the 2 ways that you must do this is, number 1, actually no, 3 ways. First one being the most important, look in the mirror. This is the best indication of whether or not you are getting closer to your goals. Secondly, of course, is you are going to want to weigh. Now, weighing is, some people say, of course, is not the best way to do things because it's not accurate, or it depends on your day, but it is one of the only ways that we can accurately measure our mass. So you will have to weigh. I weighed every Monday morning after I'd been for a wee, before I'd had my cup of tea, naked, and I kept doing that just once every week. I wouldn't recommend weighing every day, but you can if you wish, but just make sure to take your anchor from that week. An anchor is where you take your highest weighing day and your lowest weighing day and average them out. But the most important thing is the measurements. Measurements do show a lot, so just grab yourself a tape measure, and the 5 areas that I was measuring was my waist, my lower abdomen, my hips, my arms, and my thigh. So just keep a record of these. Again, I do it every Monday morning. And the final section is just on workouts. So as I said, we've spoke about food and how important that is and what I've been doing to do that. But then in the gym, what am I doing? What is going to be the most effective? You want to forget your steady state cardio, aka your running, and you want to focus on your HIIT and your strength training. Reason being is that you want to make sure you are maintaining your muscle mass while on a very low calorie shred and low carbohydrate shred, because your body, like I said, if it's not getting enough protein and you're not using your muscles, it's going to eat away at your muscles. I like having a good routine of workouts, so during my shred and just in general, I was working out 4 times a week at around an hour and a half per session. So, you know, keeping it very, very high. And I found that this is really how I got results, because my body is needing that energy while I'm working out, and because I'm not consuming enough calories, it's having to take it from my fat stores. But because I'm also weight training, it knows I'm using my muscles and it needs to maintain my muscles. So it's honestly such a great combination, and really, really why I believe a shred works. So technically that's what I did for my shred, but something I did to speed this up even more is I combined my shred with intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting is its own entity in itself. I won't be talking too much about that, but I followed the 18-6 method. Read up about it if you're interested. It's basically where you have an eating window, 6 hours. So I'll have my lunch at 12:30 and I'll have my dinner at around 6, and then that's it. So it restricts the time in the day which you can eat your calories. It also means that in the morning, if I ever do any exercises, I exercise fasted, which again has a lot of stigma attached around it of whether or not that actually helps you, but I find it does. So that was also what I did, but please read up on intermittent fasting separately because it's a whole other video. Getting to the end of your shred like I have, you will see results, because if you are doing what I'm saying and giving 100%, eating 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day, staying very active, you are going to lose weight. 110%, there is no way you cannot lose weight. So when it comes to the end of this, do not think that you want to keep going. Of course, leave it, you know, maybe if you feel like you can do one more week, then do that, but do not prolong this. It is not particularly healthy for your body to lose weight very quickly. You just want to reintroduce those carbohydrates, get that back up, keep your activity high, slowly increase your calories, and then that's where it becomes absolutely maintainable and not a stupid yo-yo diet. Also bear in mind that usually come week 2 or 3, you will get into what we call a stuck period. That is where you will stand on the scales on the first week and you would have probably had a really good loss, and then you'll stand on the scales the next week and only have maybe 400 grams loss. And it's very demotivating. It didn't happen to me this time, and it got me in a very, very bad mood. And it's horrible because you've gone another whole week of sacrificing all the things you love, and yet you don't see the results. Just bear in mind, the results are still happening, but it's what we call the stuck period. It's just where your body's readjusting. It may be maintaining a lot more water, but what you're doing is still essentially burning the same amount of calories as you did before. You'll also find that on the first week, you will lose a lot more weight, because once you cut carbohydrate, like I said, your water just comes out of you because the carbohydrate stores are gone, and so you don't maintain as much water, which in turn makes you lose quite a bit of weight on the first week. But yeah, I hope this video was sort of helpful. I kind of spoke more bullet pointy than I wanted to, but it's really hard because I don't want to specifically talk about me. But yes, I did lose 4.4 kgs in 4 weeks on my shred. It was hard, and like, I go to my nan and granddad's and my nan cooks the most amazing pasta and noodles and things, and I've had to bring over my own food because I can't have that. Garlic bread's like one of my most favourite things. I remember going over to my nan's house and she had this huge plate of garlic bread and I didn't have one slice. My friend had a baby shower the other week and there was all these amazing, it was like a pie tea thing with loads of sandwiches and cakes and muffins and Victoria sponge cake, and I sat there and I didn't have any. And do you know what? If nothing else out of this shred, if nothing else, you will lose weight, but if nothing else, it is the most amazing mental challenge that you can set yourself. If you can get yourself through a shred where you really, really apply discipline and routine, I think it's ever so strong-minded, and it made me realise what I'm capable of. I honestly set myself out that I was going to do it, and it come to like week 3 and I'm like, am I actually, like, is there actually a point to this? Is it actually going to work? And it did. So I wish you guys all the best of luck if you are thinking about this. You're obviously watching this video because you feel like you want to lose weight, or you want to understand more about the process of a shred, or you know, how you can better yourself, and that is awesome. You're already on the first step to doing that, so well done you. Just go out there and action it now. If this is going to be too much for you, then please don't start it if you feel that you cannot do it. You must have confidence in yourself that you can achieve this, because you can, but whether you're ready now or not is a different story. Another way you can do this is to slowly work your way down to 200 calories, and then after you finish 4 weeks on 200 calories, slowly work your way back up. I call it a pyramid shred. It's easier for some people because obviously you slowly introduce the low calories rather than just going cold turkey and cutting completely to 1200. But yes, well done everybody for feeling the need to watch this video, and thank you so much for showing an interest in my journey. I do hope you can stick around and subscribe, and please follow me over on Instagram because I've got a lot more content over there daily that I'd really appreciate if you guys would go and give me a follow over there and a subscribe. Thank you so much. Any other videos that you have in mind for fitness, hauls, videos in general, just leave them down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Remember to stay beautiful. Ciao.